Hey everybody, it's Donna Lee with Stampin' and Scrappin' with Donna Lee, and today I am doing a project using the Thankful Thought stamp set and the VersaFine Claire Fallen Leaves ink pad and my Stampin' Misty. So I've got the entire Thankful Thought stamp set placed on my Misty. I used the medium-sized Misty, and the Fallen Leaves VersaFine Claire feels great in the hand. It does a great job stamping. I really can say that it's great. It's good to use with your watercoloring, but it is not okay for alcohol markers. So to color my images in, I just used my Stampin' Right markers that I have. But you could use any other markers that you might have. Just don't use your alcohol markers. And the cardstock I'm using today to stamp on is the Whisper White from Stampin' Up. And so you'll see that the stamps took the ink really well. And I'll show you up close here in just a few seconds. And I'm applying less than what I would call medium pressure. I just want to make sure that I get a good stamp and give the time for the ink to kind of soak into the paper so that I get, the best stamp that I can. So let me turn this around for you so that you can see just how great these stamps are. These are from MaymayMadeIt.com. If you go to MaymayMadeIt.com, you click on Shop, and then Maymay Stamp Sets. And this is called Thankful Thoughts. And it may be out of stock because it is the September Scripture Stamp Club of the month. But they have reordered it, so it will be back in. You should totally sign up for an online account with them so you can put it in your wish list and then you'll get notified. You can see that I've colored my images. Again, I've used my Stampin' Right markers, and it just, the ink, the stamp sets, and the Whisper White cardstock, perfect combination. So I'm going to share with you using my Brother Scan and Cut. I have the 350 and I love it. Maymay says that it's the most expensive pair of scissors she owns, and I agree with her about that. So here's what I'm doing. I'm going to check my blade depth, and I have it set at about 5.5. And what I'm doing is I'm taking my cardstock and I'm going to rub it up against evenly against the blade that's coming out of the blade holder. And if it doesn't stop, if the cardstock doesn't stop on the side of the blade, then it's not deep enough. And this kind of wants to slide over the blade, so I'm going to adjust it just a smidge. So like I said, I'm about at 5.5 right there. So I'm going to take it closer to 6. And I will double check it to make sure. Again, I'm just holding the blade to the side. I'm putting the cardstock level with the tip of the plastic housing that holds the blade. And if it stops my cardstock, then I know that it's deep enough. So I have it turned on. I'm going to get ready to do a direct cut. And I can change the recognition from black and white to color here if I so choose. I'm going to keep it at black and white because most of the time that works best for me. So I'm selecting OK. And I'm putting my mat in and loading. And I realize here that I need to adjust my camera just a bit so that you all can see the buttons that I'm pushing. So excuse me while I do that. Okay, so here we go. We're adjusting it, and now you can see that there's a start and stop button, which is green. It's lit up in green. So I've loaded the mat using the load button, which is right above that. And now it is scanning in my stamped and colored images. And it will take it just a few moments to recognize everything. And I love to do this with new stamp sets. So here we can see the mat. It scanned everything on the mat. I'm going to use the stylus that came with my brother, Scan and Cut, and I touched the OK button, which is right there, and I'll zoom in for you. Now we're going to use these double-ended arrows to draw the scanner around just one of the stamped images. I find that I get better cuts when I zoom in on just one, or if it's a really small cut, I can usually get, 2 or 3 small simple cuts. So that's what I've done. I've used the arrows. Now I'm going to zoom in, and I just want to look at the outline that the scanner has picked up, and I want to make sure that it's got all of my image enclosed in that outline, and it looks perfect. So now the question becomes, do I want to add a border around this stamped image? So I'm going to touch the X to take me out of the zoom feature. And this little button I'm pointing to now is what allows you to put an edge around your scanned in image. And so I think I am going to do this, and I'm going to touch the plus button in just a second, and that's going to put 1/4 inch all the way around the scanned line. So you can see by touching it once, if I touched it again, it would go up by another 1/4 inch. So and you can use the minus sign to go inside the scanned lines just a little bit if you wanted to. So now I'm going to select OK. And all I need to do here is touch cut. And it is going to process it. So it's showing me my mat, and all it's going to show me on my mat is what it's going to cut. It's ignoring everything else, and you can see that it is cutting around my image. And I just have to tell you that every time I use this machine, I am so thankful that I have it. I love this machine. I have the Cricut Maker, and I love my Cricut Maker too. But this is a totally different machine than the Cricut Maker. It can do some of the things that the Cricut does, of course. But honestly, I just like it for the scan and cut feature. So I'm going to use our back arrow, this little back loop, and it's going to take me back one screen, exactly where I was. Now I want to use my arrows again to select the next image that I want to cut. So this stamp set has a pear, a small pumpkin, and an apple with some leaves on it. So I believe that's what I'm putting in this little circle. So we will select that. We're going to zoom in, and you can look at it at 200%, or you can look at it at 400%. And most of the time I go the 400 because I really want to see that detail. Especially if it's, a stamp set that has some, a lot of activity, a lot of edges that it needs to go around. So, and now we are ready to say okay, that we're ready to do this. So, you know, we could put a border around these, and I believe that I did that. Let me take a look at the images. Yes, I believe I did put a border around those three. And we are going to tell it to cut by pressing the stop button. So I was looking for my stamp set, but I don't see it here. Oh, that's because I've let my friend borrow it. Ha! So it has successfully cut those out, and we're back to our screen. So once again, I'm going to use the directional keys, and I'm going to cut out this long border stamp, which I really love that they have added this border to this stamp set, because you can, the way that it's designed, you can do a border all the way around your card. It's really cute, really adorable, and I'll try to show you a close-up of that. Again, I'm zooming. This has a lot of detail, a lot of lines. I did take a pen and I went across the bottom to make, you know, a solid definition, so that it would cut it, and it does a great job. And there is a new Brothers Scan and Cut. The price point is a little more than what this one cost when this model was new, but it does so much more. So if you are in the market for something that will scan and cut your stamped images, and you can sort of see the detail of this border stamp as it's cutting here on the screen. It's just amazing to me, the technology that is on this machine. And it does such a good job, such a good job. So it has finished cutting that. It does it very quickly. And we're going to use the back arrow again. And we're going to draw the box out, and we're now going to do the smaller of the two pumpkins together, the smaller stamped image. And this one I colored out of the lines. I got in a hurry. So on this one, I'm not going to have it cut that border around the 1/4-inch border. I'm going to take that off. I want it to cut exactly on the solid stamped line. And so I'm zooming in to take a look at it. So I just want to get in a little bit closer with my selection. And I'm going to zoom one more time and take a look. And it's looking pretty good. So to close this screen, we're just going to click on the X, and I'm zooming in so that you can maybe see the coloring on the outside of the line. And so it's got it selected. I'm going to say OK, and then click Cut. And I believe I edited out the part where I used the minus key on the border to bring it back down so that it would not cut a border out. I'm sorry that I edited that out. So now it's time to take our images off the mat. This is a new mat, so it's very sticky. So I'm just using a spatula that I had close by. And I do like to use the metal spatulas rather than plastic. And you can see that it came out perfectly. This is the one that I colored out of the lines on. So I'm just going to go around and get my stamped colored images off the page and let you see them up close. It really does a nice job. I highly recommend the Brothers Scan and Cut. And here is the larger pumpkin image, and you can see the border on this one. And I think that's a great idea, especially with the wheat in this stamped image. So now we're ready to start making our card. I'm using my Provo Craft Cuttlebug, and the cardstock that I'm using is by Brutus Monroe, and I am using the lunch bag color. It's great cardstock. It's so smooth. It makes the perfect base or layering element. And you can purchase it at Maymay Made It. You can also purchase it in larger packages, I think, at brutusmonroe.com. I know you can purchase it at Brutus Monroe. But at Maymay, you get the package of 30 sheets in 3 colors. And Lunch Bag is one of them, Raven is another, and Alabaster. Now the cardstock that I'm using is coming from this Photoplay Fall Breeze 6x6 card stack, and here is the image I have decided to use. You can see it's double-sided. It's beautiful paper, absolutely gorgeous. I love the Photoplay paper packs. If you see them over at Maymay Made It, you need to grab them while they are available. They go very quickly because Vinny does such a great job of finding the best paper packs, and Photoplay will not disappoint you. So I'm getting ready to use a Pink and Main stitch die, and I am using Brutus Monroe's glitter cardstock. This glitter will not come off this page, and it is a very hardy, heavy cardstock. So I have an A plate, a B plate, the glitter cardstock, my stitch die cut side down, and then a C plate on top of that. And I'm going to roll it through twice. So up and back 2 different times, because I had never die cut with it at all. So I wasn't sure, and I don't like to have to use my scissors and all that. So I just run it through a couple of times until I know how it's going to cut. So here is, and look at that. I mean, it just cuts like butter. And you all, this is the more rust colored glitter cardstock. It is absolutely gorgeous. This is a must-have. There is a variety pack of this. Now, I purchased this directly through Brutus Monroe, but I believe that Maymay Made It does have some of it. So check her out, but also go to Christopher's site, which is brutusmonroe.com. And now I'm going to use the smaller die cut from Pink and Main. This is the smaller, the third one down from the largest stitch die from Pink and Main. And the best thing about this is that I can lay this die anywhere on this paper to capture the images that I want to capture. And I love that. I absolutely love that. I do that on my Cricut as well, and I use the snap mat feature and then the shape of what I'm trying to cut out, and just kind of move it around on my designer cardstock until I have it where I want it. But I love these stitch dies from Pink and Main. I love everything I have from Pink and Main, actually. She's great. She has great designers and great customer service, so check her out as well. I originally found out about her at Scrapbook Expo, and now I go to most of the stamping shows that come to the Atlanta area, and she is usually there if she can be there, or her family's there for her if she's at another show. So here we see the glitter cardstock and the Photoplay paper cut, and it's ready to go. And that pretty much is going to make up the front of our card. I was going to use a sentiment, but I decide, as you'll see here in a few moments, that I'm probably not going to do that, and I end up putting the sentiment on the inside, and it looks great. I love the glitter cardstock. I love the Photoplay cardstock. So I'm definitely letting the paper work for me and on this card. And I just love it. So here are all of the cutout images. Now I did off camera go ahead and do some die cutting. I used an oval stitch die to cut out the gratitude, and you'll see that my pumpkin stem kind of cut up into that area because I had stamped them too close together. But I've got a plan to use it anyway. Then I used another die that I have, and I believe that die, I'm not sure who makes that. I can't think of their name right at the moment, for the Grace. And then the Amen I just trimmed out with my paper trimmer. And I don't end up using that on this card, but I plan to use that sentiment on another card. So there'll be another video later this week with that card on it. And this is the blessings greeting on this stamp set. But definitely go over to MaymayMadeIt.com and check out this stamp set. I was there earlier this morning and they are out of stock, but they have it on reorder, so it will be coming back in shortly. So I am using my favorite paper trimmer of all time, and I am using, I'm going to make this a A2 card. So I have the paper turned to the horizontal and I'm cutting it at 5.5 inches, and that will give me 2 A2 card bases. And this is the Brutus Monroe lunch bag cardstock. So I'm just going to fold it over and crease it with my fingers, and then get my bone folder and, you know, just give it some good pressure on both sides so that it stands really well and holds up. It is going to have to hold the glitter cardstock, so it needs to be a good, strong fold. And if you have a scoring tool, you should probably use it. I should probably too. And I do use it on the second card from the stack. So, but we are ready to start putting this together and see what we want to do. So I'm just deciding which should be the front of my card, and I think I've made up my mind. And so the glitter cardstock that is cut using the stitch die is going to be our base layer. It's the perfect size for the A2, and then this is the third size down of that stitch die from Pink and Maine. And I'm pretty much just centering it in there. Now I'm going to play with some stamped images that we cut out on the brother and just see which one I like best. That's a little too small, I think. But of course, you know, card making is your personal preference, right? It's all about your personal preference. So this looks good to me. And this is the sentiment that I want to go on this card. I'm just positioning it around, trying to figure out where the best place to put it is. And I've got to cover up that little slot that was the pumpkin stem. So I have trimmed down the apple a little bit closer than the Scan and cut it, because it had the little border on it. And I'm just going to put it there and cover up that little boo-boo. So I believe in using what I have and what I've made, what I've already stamped and cut. So that's what I'm doing here. And I'm trying out the pumpkin to see if I like that on there. But I think that little pumpkin, even though it's little, I think it's too big and a little bit too busy with all of that beautiful print from the Photoplay paper. And it has the cutest little foxes and raccoons that are, the raccoon is sitting in the tree and the fox is sitting at the base of the tree. One is looking up. It's just adorable paper. And so let me try this Grace sentiment and see if I like that. But honestly, I've kind of come to the conclusion at this point that I really just don't want to cover up any more of that Photoplay cardstock. It's not a very big piece to begin with, and I just love the way, I just love it. I just love the paper. So I'm about to decide that I'm not going to use the sentiment on the outside. I'm going to let the paper work for me. And the glitter cardstock just makes this Photoplay paper pop, in my opinion. And then with the stamped image of the larger pumpkin and the wheat and the apple and the corn, it's perfect just like that. It really is. So that's what we're going to go with. And thanks for bearing with me in this video. I appreciate when people show me their process, so I thought I would share my process with you because I really don't have an idea before I start creating. I just go on this journey. I enjoy the paper, I enjoy the supplies, I enjoy the process, and I like making cards for specific people, so that's what I did here. This is a card for my mom. And my mother loves the fall. So she unfortunately is not in good enough health where she can get out and travel. So I'm going to send this to her, and I know it's going to sit I know exactly where it will be sitting, and she'll be looking at it every day. So I am using art glitter glue. This is my #1 go-to adhesive. I do use dimensional tape adhesive, as you will see in this video as well, but for basic adhesive to cardstock and scrapbooking, I use the art glitter. This bottle was from a fundraiser last year, which benefited Juvenile Diabetes Association for research to help come up with better treatments and hopefully one day a cure for that. My mother-in-law, who has since passed after she had a very good life, even with juvenile diabetes, had that, and of course we would love to support and do support the Juvenile Diabetes Association because we feel like there is more to be learned about this disease, and certainly has to be a better way to treat it. So we appreciate Maymay Made It in offering the fundraiser for that. They have a fundraiser going on now which benefits a specific NICU charity. So go over to Maymay Made It, look up, go to shop, and then art glitter glue, and you will see the fundraiser bottle for this year. So, and you might want to go ahead and order your art glitter glue containers and your refill to get you through the winter, because once it starts to freeze, they will only be able to ship it when it does not get below, I believe, below 40. Could be wrong, it might be 30, but I thought it was 40 between the origination point of the shipping and where it's going overnight. So go ahead and get it now before it gets too cold. Get your container and your refill. I buy the largest refill they stock. So I'm using the fine metal tip, which helps me from overdoing my art glitter glue. So I'm putting that down. I'm going to put my pen back in it, and I will tell you about this pen. One of Maymay's customers made this decorated steel pen for herself, and she sent one to Maymay as an appreciation. So I'm getting ready to put my art glitter, the Brutus Monroe glitter on my card. Art glitter glue allows me a few seconds to move it around and get it just so. It's not going to be perfect most of the time, but I do have a few seconds to get it where I want it. And so now we have the Photoplay paper, and I'm going to use some dimensional adhesive. So I keep two different types of dimensional adhesive. I use the scrapbook adhesive, and I purchase it at Scrapbook Expo, and I purchase enough every year to get me through the year. Maymay Made It does sell this brand. I highly recommend it. You can get it in the white. You can also get it in black. So I'm just putting that down, and then we will peel off the backs, center it up on the Brutus Monroe glitter cardstock. So these little pins that this customer made, she says on her packaging, it says, never lose your glue tip pin again. So it's got these beads and charms on it. And they are just adorable. Every one of them is unique. And Maymay now sells them. And on the back of it, it says, hi there, thank you for your purchase. If your pen got a little bent during shipping, no worries. Just run it between your finger and thumb nail a few times to straighten. And there is a patent pending. So, but I love them. I bought a couple of them at Made It Con and Pigeon Forge last month, and got my girlfriend some too. We love our art glitter glue, and I'm just showing you the dimension that the scrapbook adhesives. I also use Stampin' Up dimensionals. They come in regular size and then the small size, and they're a little bit thinner than these. And if it's going to, like on my scrapbook pages, which I always put in page protectors, I like to use the thinner ones on that. So now I'm just deciding placement, and we're going to put the dimensionals on the bottom of this pumpkin embellishment, the stamped piece. So I just place it there, pick up the adhesive, and stick it down where it needs to be. That way I don't accidentally get it up too high, because the top part of the stamped image, of course, is going to rest on the Photoplay paper. So that's looking like it's pretty good. And now I'm going to put some art glitter glue right at the top just to keep it in place. I tell you, once you start using art glitter glue, you will never go back to another liquid adhesive again. And I haven't used a tape runner in so long. I have all kind of tape runners sitting around in this craft room, and since I have gotten hooked, addicted to the art glitter glue, I just don't use them. I mean, there's nothing worse to me than something coming off your card after you've made it. So I think I need to add a few more, because this is going directly on top of the glitter. So I want to make sure I have plenty of adhesive sitting on top of the glitter cardstock. We are ready to put it down. Just touching them all to make sure that they're all sticky and I didn't accidentally leave one on there. So here we go. And I love that the art glitter glue gives me those few seconds to adjust it if I want to. And just put a little pressure on the dimensional tape adhesives. And there is the finished front of this card. And just look at the glitter and the shine and the beauty of that Brutus Monroe glitter cardstock. You guys got to get your hands on some of that. I'm telling you, it is awesome. Now, Maymay doesn't like glitter, but no glitter is coming off this cardstock. I'm telling you, it's not. So trust me when I say, if you're not a glittery person, but you want some bling on your projects, you want this cardstock. And I would suggest that you get your favorite colors, or get the variety pack and then decide what your favorite colors are and then order those. So this week I'm going to be placing a Maymay order, and I'm going to see if she has any of it in stock. If not, I'm going over to Brutus, Monroe's site, and I'm going to get it from there because I need to get some for my Christmas shaker cards this year. So I'm using a stitch die. But I'll be honest with you, I'm not really loving the white on the lunch bag. It's just not really speaking to me. So I found a piece of this pumpkin colored cardstock that I have had in my stash. It's from American Crafts, and I'm just going to trim it down to 4 inches by 5 1/4 to use as a layering on the inside of my card. Again, using my favorite paper trimmer from Cricut. I believe that the best price available on this trimmer is through Cricut, and often you can get it on sale from Cricut, and search for some discount codes, which, you know, give you an extra discount. And if you are a Cricut Access member like I am, I get a 10% discount on just about everything at all times. Plus I get free shipping. So think about that. But here we go. So I like this pumpkin much better. I've got my sentiment on there, and I've lined up my border stamp, which I just love it, and kind of positioned it where I want it. So now I'm putting my art glitter glue down, and I'm going to line my stamp up where I want it, and then I'm just going to trim it from the back with my cutter bee scissors. So it dries, the art glitter glue dries very quickly. Like I said, it gives you a few seconds, but you can just position it and just flip it over, and you'll do a better job than I do. I end up having to go back and retrim this. Fussy cutting period is not my forte. So thus why I have a Brother Scan and Cut. Plus I have a little bit of that old Arthur that came to visit me in my hands. So it helps me to have the Brother Scan and Cut. And I agree wholeheartedly with Maymay that it is the most expensive pair of scissors I own, and I have no regrets whatsoever about purchasing it. I use it, that's what I use it for most of the time, but I also make my own card front stitching. I've done a lot of things with my Brother Scan and Cut. That's not the only thing I use it for, but even if it was, it's worth the investment. If you can afford the newer one, I would get the newer one. If you cannot, see if you can find some deals on the $350. I promise you, if you're a stamper and a scrapbooker, you will not be sorry. Go ahead and invest. It's worth it. So you see I've put the little apple down and on my sentiment, and I've got that little space in there so I can write a message, and this is going to be the inside of our card. So I appreciate that you have stuck through. This is a rather long video for me, but I did want to share with you the entire process that I use when making cards. Like I said, I usually make them for a specific individual. And so when this stamp set came in the mail, I immediately got it on my MISTI, got it inked, and colored it when I had time. So once I had it colored, then I started this process. And I think that's the best way to handle a new stamp set that you get. just go ahead and stamp it out and then color it when you're sitting and watching TV, or in my case, I don't really watch TV, but sometimes I sit with my husband while he does, and it gives me something to do, quite frankly, because I don't find much on TV worth watching. But I love to color. It's very relaxing to me. So this is the another Stamp Club set from Maymay Made It. This is the original Stamp Club, but this is available. This stamp set is available in the shop, and it's called Handmade By. And I love that it has so many styles, so I'm going to use the one that is very much fall-like. And I was trying to find it so I could read them to you, but I may have let my girlfriend borrow that one too, and that's okay. I'm very blessed to have what I have, and I'd love to share it with my fellow friends and crafters. So, but yeah, that's Handmade By is the name of that one. Here it is. I just found it. And so I'm using the Distress Oxide ink, and you can see how well it takes the ink. And I'm just going to stamp it on the very back of my card. And the fall one has those 3 fall leaves, and it says made for you by, and then it's got a little swirly line. And then I will allow that to sit and dry for a little bit. And then I'll sign my name to it. So the Distress Oxides do a great job on the cards, and I picked those up at Maymay Made It as well. So I'm a big fan of Maymay Made It, and I love the customer service that I get. I love the products that they have. They always have what I'm looking for. Sometimes things go out of stock a little quickly, but I like to support individually owned businesses, and so I am just thrilled to be one of Maymay's customers. And here you can see everything that I used on this particular card. And check out Maymay Made It, check out BrutusMonroe.com, and if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you later this week. Happy stamping. Bye-bye.